Why do they want an angry gorilla anyway?
You're a silverback. He terrifies humans.
We did do facial capture. We had a camera on Ben Bishop, the guy that played Ivan throughout the virtual process, but we didn't use it. It was, as with motion capture and any kind of capture like that, there's a hell of a lot of data. Depending on what it is, it's sometimes quicker and easier and more creative and you get better results by hand doing it. In terms of bringing that to screen, that performance to screen, how we do it is a hell of a lot of reference gathering. Lots of dogs, lots of gorillas, to kind of tap into what makes an animal, right? And knowing its nuances, knowing its quirks and its ear flicks and its little idiosyncrasies that they do.
This was a movie that the animals had to be completely photorealistic. Yet at the same time, are we pushing it far enough? Is there enough pathos or humor or sadness in those expressions? Should we push it a little bit more, or have we pushed it too far and we're sort of slipping into the uncanny valley where you start to go, no, that's not a real animal. They don't do that. They wouldn't do that. So that's a very difficult balance, and that was something that we fought with on every shot. It was a discussion that went from the heads of the studio all the way down, through the movie.
So we captured scene by scene, so we captured what we called a master scene from beginning to end. The animators back at NPC would then take the chess pieces that we captured for Bob and Ruby and Stella and all the other animals and animate them the whole master scene, from beginning to end, without any kind of camera. We hadn't shot any camera at that stage. It was all kind of like just as a scene would play out. And so by the end of, that process, we had every scene that we were going to shoot virtually playing out as a master scene.
That would then go onto our virtual stage. And now we're into the virtual stage. We could go into the scene. First of all, we would do it in VR. So we put the headsets on. Now you can go into the scene. You can look around while the master scene is playing out. And we could go into it with the DP and with the director, and we could say, right, so here's the scene. How are we going to film this? So once we looked at it in VR, we then went onto the virtual stage, and there we actually had a film crew, and we were able to now literally film these virtual clips. And we could change lenses, they could pull focus, there's nothing there, but everything is up on big screens. The reason that we did that as well was, it put the filming of it back into the filmmaker's hands.
Thea said to us, Nick, at one point, when we showed her the first kind of render of a scene with Ivan rendered for the first time, it's like looking at a different character. All of those things go into the mix and subtly change things as the movie evolves and goes through its different processes.
Probably a lot of people looking at the movie may not realise is how much of the backgrounds weren't real, but were actually completely generated virtually. Any time that you were basically looking at Bob and Ivan in the backstage area with Stella and Ruby, that entire environment was virtual. It wasn't, it was completely computer generated. So we put a huge amount of work into all of the different textures and the way light behaved on them. We had tile surfaces, concrete surfaces, we had metal bars, we had glass. If you went in there and just said, right, well, we'll just go and shoot empty plates of this environment, we think Bob will be there, we'll shoot a shot there and do that, you could end up with a million plates that would take you a long time to shoot. So therefore we needed it to be a virtual construct, so that we would have complete freedom of cameras and complete freedom of choices later on. Afterwards, the director of photography, the DP who lit and shot the movie, obviously he goes away for the best part of a year, and then he comes back and he does that colouring, and we were looking at shots and he was like going, I remember shooting that one. We were like, no, that's completely virtual, and he was like, wow. So he couldn't tell.
I'll just cross the road then.
Why would you cross the road?
To get to the other side.
He said it.
Oh boy.